Welcome to episode 9 of The Deep Dive. Good morning, Colorado Springs.
Good morning.
Today, we are settling in for a very special story time, curated especially for you. We have a genuinely fascinating journey to unpack today.
You really do.
And if you are among the many The Amazing Caleb fans out there in our audience, you are going to absolutely love this one.
It is a remarkable piece of documentation.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to be diving into a meticulous travel diary written by Caleb.
Right.
He's a 25-year-old content creator, and this is really important for our analysis today. He navigates the world with ADHD and autism.
Yeah, which gives such a unique perspective.
Exactly. His documentation of this summer vacation for 7 days, which takes place from July 17th to July 24th, 2026. It isn't just, a list of places he went.
Oh, not at all.
It's this incredible high-definition window into how the human brain processes the friction of travel.
I love that phrase, the friction of travel. And before we get the engine running on this road trip, I just want to take a quick second to remind everyone listening, make sure you go like, comment, and subscribe to The Amazing Caleb's original posts.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah, because he puts so much heart and vulnerability into sharing his perspective. And as we're about to see, it's a perspective that can, fundamentally change how the rest of us understand our own interactions with the world.
Truly. Because our mission today is to look at Caleb's daily log, his journey from Colorado Springs up into the mountains of Granby, Colorado, and basically use it as a lens.
Right, the lens to look at travel itself.
Exactly. Specifically, how travel functions as a massive, unavoidable sensory collision. It's this constant grinding friction between our deep human need for the comfort of the familiar and the inherently unpredictable, chaotic nature of new environments.
It's so true.
And when you look at that dynamic through a neurodivergent lens, those contrasts are amplified in a way that, frankly, exposes the absolute absurdity of how we build our world.
Okay, I am so ready for this. Let's start right at the beginning. Day 1, July 17th, 2026, the departure.
The hardest part sometimes.
Right. There's always this highly specific electricity in the air on the first day of a trip. The bags are packed. The anticipation is just buzzing.
Oh, absolutely.
For Caleb, the journey kicks off with packing everything into Stephen's green Jeep. So we are looking at roughly a 3-hour drive in Stephen's green Jeep from Colorado Springs, winding up into the higher altitudes.
Right into the mountains.
Yeah, but before they even hit the highway, there is this very specific ritual that happens.
And ritual is the exact right word to use there, because for anyone, but particularly for someone with ADHD or autism, leaving the controlled, highly curated environment of your own home is not just a drive. It's a major psychological transition.
Right, you're leaving your safe zone.
Literally, you are stepping out of a predictable ecosystem that you entirely control and into an unknown void.
And how do they bridge that void? I love this detail. At exactly 12:400 p.m., they grab lunch. But it is not, a celebratory sit-down meal at a restaurant.
No, it's much more practical.
They are eating chicken in the bag for lunch from Safeway, just pulling hot deli chicken right out of the grocery store bag before they hit the road. I mean, I have to ask why. Why is that the kickoff meal?
Well, think about the psychology of the road trip meal, and specifically the concept of accessible consistency.
Accessible consistency, okay.
Right. Because eating hot deli chicken from a Safeway bag might seem completely mundane on a normal Tuesday. But on the threshold of a major environmental transition, it becomes a crucial grounding exercise.
Because it's predictable.
Exactly. It provides immediate, highly predictable sensory input. The warmth radiating through the plastic bag, the familiar savory, salty taste, the specific texture of rotisserie chicken.
Yeah.
It is exactly the same every single time you buy it, no matter which Safeway you go to.
It's like running a software diagnostic before a major system update. You're giving your nervous system a baseline of pure, unadulterated predictability.
That is a perfect analogy. It's the last taste of the absolute known before they cross the threshold into the unknown.
Right, because a restaurant is just chaos.
Exactly. A fit-down restaurant introduces variables. How loud is the restaurant? Will the waiter be rude? Will the food take too long? The Safeway chicken removes every single variable. It's pure, concentrated comfort.
It's the ultimate road trip fuel. So they finish up, and the green Jeep hits the highway. And Caleb is tracking the timeline with this wonderful precision throughout the diary.
He really is. It's great data.
Yeah. So at 2:53 p.m., they are traveling through Idaho Springs. Then, at 3:46 p.m., they hit Rendezvous, Colorado. And here's where I literally laughed out loud reading the notes, because Caleb documents this absolutely brilliant Rendezvous, Colorado confusion.
Oh, I love this part.
He writes down that he is wondering if there might be French people living there. which is such a logical jump.
It is. And I found that observation utterly fascinating because it exposes something so strange about American geography that, neurotypical people just gloss right over.
Right, we don't even question it.
We don't. If we connect this to the field of semiotics, which is the study of signs and symbols, Caleb is doing exactly what language is supposed to do. He is mapping a linguistic expectation onto a physical reality.
Makes perfect sense.
The word rendezvous is unequivocally historically French.
Right. If I go to a neighborhood called Little Italy, I rightfully expect pasta and espresso. So if I drive into a place called Rendezvous, why shouldn't I expect a guy in a beret smoking a cigarette and handing me a fresh baguette?
Exactly.
It is a perfectly logical conclusion to draw.
It's hyperlogical. When you process the world with a neurodivergent literalism, and you see a sign for a town with a French name, the mathematical deduction is that the inhabitants have French origins, or at the very least, speak the language.
Right, because why else would you name it that?
Exactly. What Caleb's confusion highlights is the entirely arbitrary, often absurd nature of how we name places in this country. We adopt these evocative, romanticized European words purely for aesthetic marketing reasons.
Just to sound fancy.
Right. It's completely divorced from the actual culture, history, or demographics of the location.
We are essentially false advertising our geography. Like, we name a subdivision Whispering Pines after we bulldoze all the pikes, and we name a mountain town Rendezvous when it is just a bunch of folks from Denver eating trail mix.
That's spot on.
Caleb's brain just calls out the glitch in the matrix.
Precisely. It is a moment where the internal logic of language collides directly with the illogical reality of modern town planning.
So they push through the false promises of Rendezvous, and finally, at 5:22 p.m., they arrive at their condo in Granby.
The destination.
Yeah. The bags come out of the Jeep. The vacation has officially started. But immediately, and I mean the second they walk through the door, the excitement just slams headfirst into a brick wall. Or, well, more accurately, a wooden one.
Ah, yes. The stairs.
We encounter what I want to call the architecture of anxiety.
The condo's interior design. This is a critical moment in the diary, because Caleb explicitly documents two massive architectural hurdles that he immediately dislikes about the accommodation.
And this is long before they even unpack their bags.
Right, the very first impression.
So first, he notes that he is afraid of heights, which, is a very common, very visceral fear. And what does this beautiful mountain vacation condo feature? A spiral staircase.
Which is disorienting on its own.
But wait, it gets worse. Not just a spiral staircase. He specifically calls out that it has see-through wooden floors and see-through wooden stairs.
A sensory nightmare.
Okay, I need you to explain this to me, because see-through wooden stairs are basically like a glass-bottom boat, but without the fun fish. It is just a portal to your own demise.
That's a very vivid way to put it.
Why do architects prioritize these avant-garde aesthetics over basic human comfort?
Well, that tension right there between aesthetic ambition and human biology is a massive issue in modern design. From a purely architectural standpoint, open riser stairs, which is the technical term for stairs, where you can see the empty space between the treads and spiral staircases, are utilized to manipulate light.
Okay, so it's a lighting thing.
Mostly, yes. They allow natural light to flow through a multi-level space uninhibited, making a small condo feel vastly larger and more integrated. They are visually striking.
Yeah, they look fantastic in real estate photos.
Exactly. They look great on a Zillow listing, but living with them is a completely different story.
Oh, totally.
And this raises an incredibly important question about inclusive design and human neurology. For someone who is afraid of heights, or for a neurodivergent individual who relies heavily on solid visual grounding to process spatial awareness, an open riser spiral staircase is nothing short of an active threat.
But what is actually happening in the brain? Because to a lot of people, it's just a funky staircase, right?
Yeah.
But for Caleb, it's an immediate source of distress.
It has to do with a concept called proprioception.
Proprioception.
Right, which is your nervous system's ability to sense the position and movement of your body in space. When you walk up a normal solid staircase, your peripheral vision registers a solid mass beneath you.
Right, you see the wood or the carpet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your brain subconsciously calculates that you are safe. The ground is rising with you. But when you look down an open riser stair and see empty space, or worse, you see the floor 20 feet below you through the gaps, it triggers a primal evolutionary fear response in the amygdala.
Wow, your brain is basically screaming, "We are floating in midair, abort mission."
Exactly. Your visual cortex is telling your brain one thing: there's empty space beneath my foot, while your tactile sense is saying, my foot is on solid wood.
Oh, that sounds awful.
It is. The conflicting sensory inputs throw your equilibrium into chaos. The environment is actively, aggressively telling your brain that you are in imminent danger of falling through the floor.
So the very place that is supposed to be a relaxing, luxurious vacation home instantly transforms into a high-stakes obstacle course.
Precisely. It requires intense emotional and cognitive regulation just to walk from the living room to the bedroom.
It is exhausting just thinking about it. I mean, the world is so often built by people who process sensory input in a very narrow, quote-unquote, standard way, completely without neurodivergent or acrophobic folks in mind.
It's a very standardized approach to design.
You literally have to spend a percentage of your vacation battery just surviving your own living room.
Which perfectly explains the behavioral shift we see in the diary the very next day.
Right, exactly. So Caleb survives the terrifying staircase of doom, gets a night of sleep, and then day 2 rolls around, July 18th. And we see how he immediately seeks out environments that offer the exact opposite of that staircase.
He's self-regulating.
Yes, he looks for predictability, nostalgia, and a completely different kind of sensory engagement.
The overarching theme of day 2 is the exploration of indoor structured spaces in Granby, specifically focusing on a location called the Inn at Silver Creek.
Right. So at 12:03 p.m., they head over to the inn, and right away, Caleb notes something highly specific and unique. He writes in his diary, asking the reader directly, have you seen the wooden elevator before?
It's a great detail.
They take this wooden elevator down to explore the lower levels of the inn, and immediately it feels like this place has a dense, atmospheric, almost cinematic quality to it.
Very much so.
They wander around, noting the names of the spaces, the garden suite, the long leaf room, and then they encounter this incredible moment of mystery. Caleb notes he was hoping to see the real ballroom, but the doors were locked.
The locked ballroom doors are such an evocative, powerful detail in his travelogue. Let's think about the psychology of liminal spaces.
Liminal spaces, like spaces in between.
Exactly. Places like hotel hallways, airports, or elevators. They are spaces of transition. In a massive, quiet hotel setting, a locked set of heavy ballroom doors represents a physical barrier to exploration, sure, but cognitively, it acts as a massive catalyst for the imagination.
It has the shining energy, right? But in a curious way, not necessarily a scary way.
Exactly.
You are standing in this quiet hallway looking at these grand doors, and you just know there is a cavernous, empty space on the other side.
Precisely. What is behind there? Dust covers over chandeliers. A perfectly polished dance floor waiting for a wedding that isn't happening.
Right.
It creates a profound sense of scale and hidden history within the building. For an inquisitive, detail-oriented mind, finding an inaccessible, grandiose space in a hotel is intensely fascinating. It's a puzzle piece of the environment that cannot be turned over.
But they can't get in. The doors are locked. So, denied the ballroom, they pivot. And they pivot to a space that is not only entirely accessible, but for Caleb, highly, highly regulating.
The arcade?
Yes. They find the hotel arcade, and suddenly, Caleb is fully in his element. And I love how his documentation shifts here. He doesn't just write, we played some games.
No, he's very thorough.
He lists the arcade games out with this incredible archival precision. Air hockey, putt for prizes, tractor time, super off-road, road burners leader, Mrs. Pac-Man, and he makes sure to specifically note the 2 games he actually played, Cruising World and Galaga.
Now, this is where we have to challenge a very common misconception about sensory processing. Yes, the arcade acting as a safe haven is an incredibly common experience for many neurodivergent people, but to an outside observer, it seems entirely paradoxical.
Okay, wait. I need to stop you right there, because I am that outside observer. You're telling me that a room literally engineered by corporations to blast you with flashing neon lights, overlapping 8-bit sirens, explosions, and like aggressive fluorescent carpeting is a safe haven for someone who might experience sensory overload.
Yes, I am.
That sounds completely counterintuitive. It sounds like throwing someone into a blender to calm them down.
It does sound like a blender until you understand the difference between volume and predictability.
Okay, walk me through that.
The core issue with sensory overload isn't always the amount of stimulation. It is the unpredictability of that stimulation. Let's compare the arcade to the outside world. A mountain town or a see-through spiral staircase or a busy street, these are wildly unpredictable.
Right.
The wind blows randomly, a dog barks out of nowhere, a floorboard creaks unexpectedly. The rules of engagement are unwritten, and the sensory inputs are chaotic and random. Your brain has to constantly process threat assessments.
Okay, I am tracking with you. Real life is random.
Now look at an arcade game. Look at Galaga.
Classic.
The rules are absolute. They're literally hard-coded into a motherboard. When Caleb steps up to the Galaga cabinet, the system responds exactly the same way every single time.
Right, the aliens don't randomly decide to change the rules.
Exactly. The alien chips fly in exact, mathematically predetermined patterns. The sound of the laser firing is the exact same frequency every single time he presses the button. It provides instant, 100% predictable feedback.
Oh, wow. So it isn't about escaping sensory input. It's about finding sensory input that obeys the laws of physics perfectly.
Exactly. The visual and auditory stimulation in an arcade is intense, yes, but it is entirely contained within a tightly structured, rigid framework.
That makes total sense.
It allows a neurodivergent brain to hyperfocus. The brain can safely filter out the unpredictable environment of the hotel hallway or the lingering anxiety of the staircase and anchor the mind entirely in a completely controllable digital space.
Wow.
You are no longer a passenger in a chaotic world. You are the sole conductor of this specific, bright, noisy symphony.
That is just brilliant. It is controlled, curated chaos. You are the master of the Galaga ship. The universe makes total, undeniable sense for those 3 minutes. You live or die based on a fair set of rules.
It's very empowering.
And speaking of things that make complete sense and offer a deep sense of comfort, let's talk about how Caleb fuels up after the arcade. At 3:40 p.m., which, by the way, is a very late lunch, implying they must have been absolutely crushing it on Cruising World and Galaga, for hours they head into town for food.
A well-deserved meal.
Yeah. They go to a place called Dibby's. And I want to make a very important clarification here, exactly the way Caleb points it out. This is Debbie's, not to be confused with Little Debbie's lol.
A vital distinction. We are not talking about the cellophane-wrapped Swiss cake rolls and oatmeal creme pies.
No, we are not, although those are great too. Debbie's is a classic 1950s style restaurant they found right there in town. It has the whole aesthetic. And what does Caleb order from this bastion of mid-century dining? A plain cheeseburger and a chocolate milkshake. It is absolute perfection.
It is culinary perfection for this specific psychological state. If we examine the psychology of comfort, particularly in the context of travel fatigue, a 1950s Americana diner is the architectural and culinary equivalent of a software safe mode for your brain.
A software safe mode. I love that. Walk me through that.
Well, when your computer is crashing from too many complex background applications running at once, you boot it up in safe mode.
Right.
It only runs the most basic, stable, essential code required to function. That is what a 1950s-style restaurant is. The aesthetic is heavily, deliberately nostalgic. Now, Caleb is 25. He was born around 2001. He has no actual lived memory of the 1950s.
Obviously not.
Yet this environment is comforting to him. Why? Because the 1950s diner has become a cultural shorthand for an idealized, stylized version of the past that is inherently safe.
Oh, like the movies.
Exactly. The checkerboard floors, the chrome, the red vinyl booths. It is a universally understood language of predictable American hospitality.
And the order itself fits right into that safe mode, doesn't it? A plain cheeseburger and a chocolate shake.
Precisely. Remember, when you are on a summer vacation for 7 days, your senses are constantly processing massive amounts of new data. You are sleeping in a strange bed, feeling different weather, encountering locked ballroom doors and terrifying staircases.
Your brain is working overtime.
It really is. So ordering a complex meal at a trendy fusion restaurant introduces a massive new variable of surprise. Will there be a weird sauce? Will the texture be wrong?
You don't want a culinary adventure when you've already had an architectural adventure on the stairs.
Exactly. A plain cheeseburger aggressively removed the variable of surprise. It is a known quantity across the globe. The soft texture of the bun, the savory, predictable profile of the burger patty, the sweet, cold, viscous texture of the chocolate milkshake. These are predictable sensory joys.
Right. There's no learning curve.
None at all.
Yeah.
They require zero cognitive processing power to understand or adapt to. They just offer immediate caloric and psychological comfort.
It is the culinary version of Galaga. You know exactly what the mechanics are, and you know exactly what you are going to get.
That's a great way to link them.
Now, as they are wandering around Granby with full stomachs, we see this really fascinating pattern in Caleb's diary. Pop culture and media keep acting as these cognitive anchors for him.
Yes, this is a very strong theme.
For instance, they walk past a local tattoo shop called Mad Tatters. Now, Caleb explicitly notes that he has zero interest in getting tattoos himself, but the name of the shop immediately acts as a trigger, making him think of Disney's Alice in Wonderland.
The Mad Hatter, Mad Tatters.
Exactly. And he goes out of his way to document that he loves both the original 1951 animated classic and the 2010 live-action version.
What this demonstrates is how our internal landscapes, our hyperfixations, our special interests, our media consumption map onto our physical surroundings to help us make sense of them.
It's like a mental bridge.
A simple, mildly clever pun on a small-town storefront sign acts as a mental hyperlink. It instantly connects a random, unfamiliar street in Colorado to the deeply familiar, highly imaginative world of Wonderland that Caleb holds in his mind.
It's like finding a Wi-Fi network you already have the password for.
That is exactly what it feels like.
And then on day 6, this exact same phenomenon happens again, but in a much more tactile, profound way. They are exploring some local stores, specifically a place called the Mountain Family Center, and amidst all the random thrift store detritus, Caleb spots a VHS tape.
A true relic.
Right. Not a DVD, not a Blu-ray, not a streaming link, a physical, clunky, plastic VHS tape of the movie Titan A.E. from the year 2000. He excitedly calls it his favorite Don Bluth movie. And I just have to pause here because Caleb is so incredibly right about this. Titan A.E. 2000, good movie. The Rotten Tomatoes suck.
It is a genuinely fascinating piece of cinema history. Released in the year 2000, it was an incredibly ambitious film that attempted to blend traditional hand-drawn 2D animation with early, complex 3D computer graphics. It was highly experimental for its time.
Yes, it was a transitional movie. And judging a movie is like judging a book by its cover, especially when we talk about early CGI.
Wow.
The critics at the time were so confused by the blended animation styles that they completely missed the magic. They got bogged down in the mechanics of how it looked, and they completely missed the heart of this sweeping sci-fi epic.
The Rotten Tomatoes score definitely doesn't reflect its cult status today.
It really doesn't. But, setting the cinematic debate aside, finding that specific, obscure, deeply beloved VHS tape in a random mountain town thrift store that feels significant.
It is a moment of profound serendipity, and it touches on the importance of physical media.
How so?
In an era where all of our media is locked behind digital subscriptions, finding a physical artifact of your special interest in an unexpected place validates your presence in that physical space. You are holding the object. It has weight, texture, and history.
Right.
It takes this foreign, slightly overwhelming mountain environment and suddenly aligns it with Caleb's internal world. It essentially says, you belong here because the things you love are here too.
Wow. It's those micro-memories that define a trip. So Caleb manages to find this perfect, delicate harmony. He finds it in the glow of the Galaga screen, the predictable warmth of a 1950s diner cheeseburger, and the serendipitous discovery of a Don Bluth VHS tape.
A successful day of regulation.
But here is the catch. You can't go to Granby, Colorado for a 7-day summer vacation without eventually being forced to confront the great outdoors. It's practically illegal to go to Colorado and not go outside.
It's definitely heavily encouraged.
And nature doesn't have a volume knob, does it?
That is an exceptionally accurate way to phrase it. As we move into the next phase of the diary, we see a stark, undeniable contrast between the unpredictability of natural, wild environments and the comforting safety of artificial engineered ones.
Yeah, it's night and day.
We see this narrative play out over days 3, 4, 5, and 7, primarily through Caleb's interactions with bodies of water.
Let's look at the wild water first. Day 4, July 20th. They arrive at the beach at Lake Granby at 11:54 a.m. The sun is up, they are at the lake. At 1:00 p.m., Caleb decides he's going to brave the elements.
A big step.
He puts on his water shoes, walks down to the shore, and tries walking on the water, or rather, wading into it. But it just doesn't work. The waves are relentless, and the water is freezing cold.
The sensory shock of nature is completely unapologetic. It does not care about your comfort.
No, it does not.
You have to remember the geography here. A mountain lake in Colorado is essentially a giant bowl of recent snowmelt. It is brutally, shockingly cold. And unlike a controlled environment, a lake presents a multitude of chaotic variables.
It isn't just the temperature, right?
Exactly. You have the freezing temperature, yes.
Right.
But you also have the kinetic energy of the waves constantly shifting your balance. You have the uneven, rocky, slippery surfaces beneath the water shoes.
Right, you can't see what you're stepping on.
You have unpredictable gusts of wind hitting your wet skin, and the glaring, unfiltered, high-altitude sun reflecting off the water directly into your eyes. For a sensory-sensitive individual, stepping into that lake is an immediate catastrophic overload of intense, unmanageable stimuli.
So what does Caleb do? He doesn't force a meltdown. He adapts. He writes in his diary, "I just sit and enjoy the view for 10 minutes."
Which is a highly sophisticated, highly successful regulatory strategy.
Yeah.
He immediately recognizes that the tactile and physical sensation of the lake is too overwhelming for his nervous system. So rather than suffering through it to meet some societal expectation of enjoying the lake, he steps back.
He sets a boundary.
He engages with the environment on a purely visual level. He converts a massive tactile threat into a safe, visual, aesthetic experience, controlling his distance from the unpredictable element.
Yeah, he literally puts the lake behind a screen of distance.
Exactly.
But the next day, day 5, they decide to tackle Lake Granby again, this time from a different vantage point. At 11 a.m., they go out on a boat for a 3-hour-long ride.
A different kind of exposure.
Now, initially, Caleb notes that he really enjoyed listening to the sounds of the water slapping against the hull, the rhythm of it. But then around 2:00 p.m., things go completely sideways. The 3-hour ride on the boat turns into a crisis. They get lost.
Being lost on a large, natural body of water is one of the most primal human fears imaginable.
It sounds terrifying.
When you lose your bearing on a lake, you lose your landmarks. The shoreline begins to look identical in every single direction. The scale of nature suddenly shifts from beautiful to intensely intimidating. You are floating on an abyss entirely at the mercy of the wind and current.
I mean, imagine getting lost in a 3-hour ride on the boat. It's giving total Gilligan's Island vibes.
Truly.
A simple 3-hour tour turned into an existential navigational crisis. The panic must have been real, but how do they get out of it? They don't navigate by the stars. They don't check which side of the pine trees the moss is growing on. Caleb casually notes that they found their way back to the dock with the help of Google Maps.
The juxtaposition in that diary entry is breathtaking.
Isn't it?
On one hand, you have this ancient, primal, deeply vulnerable situation. Fragile humans adrift on a vast, indifferent lake, completely disconnected from the safety of land. It is a scenario that has terrified humans for millennia.
Right.
And how is it resolved? Instantly, by a multi-billion-dollar network of satellites orbiting in the vacuum of space, transmitting precise geospatial data down to a glowing, rectangular piece of glass in their pockets.
It completely undercuts the rugged outdoorsman narrative, doesn't it?
It highlights how modern technology acts as the ultimate safety net against the overwhelming unpredictability of nature. We only play in the wild because we know we have a digital tether back to civilization.
Which really makes you wonder, why do we do it? Why do we as humans feel this immense societal pressure to go out into the wild on vacation?
It's an expectation we place on ourselves.
We force ourselves into these unpredictable, sometimes incredibly uncomfortable situations, stepping into freezing water, getting lost on boats, fighting mosquitoes, because we feel like that is what a mountain vacation is supposed to look like on Instagram. But when you read between the lines of Caleb's diary, it is so blatantly clear that just hanging out in the hotel pool is infinitely more relaxing.
The data within his own diary certainly supports that conclusion. While Lake Granby provided 10 minutes of visual enjoyment from a safe distance and a highly stressful boat ride, Caleb's engagement with the artificial waters of the trip is entirely positive, highly enthusiastic, and frequently repeated.
Oh, Caleb loves playing in the pool. It is a recurring highlight of the trip. He notes specifically that he hasn't been in a pool for a while, which makes it even more special.
The novelty is a big factor.
Let's look at the timeline. On day 3, right before midnight, at 11:55 p.m., they go to the pool in the inn at Silver Creek and just have fun. Then on day 7, they go back to that exact same pool at 11:03 a.m. to swim and play more arcade games. And later that very same evening, at 7:00 p.m., they hit the hot tub in their condo.
Let's do a direct sensory comparison between the pool and Lake Granby.
Let's do it.
We established the lake is freezing, wavy, rocky, and physically boundless. The hotel pool, by contrast, is a mathematically perfect rectangle. The depth is clearly marked on the side in large, unmissable numbers.
You always know where the bottom is.
The water is chemically controlled for absolute clarity and sanitation. There are no fish, no algae, no mysteries beneath the surface. The temperature is artificially regulated to be universally comfortable, regardless of the weather outside.
Right.
And the hot tub takes that environmental regulation even further. It provides intense, penetrating warmth and deep pressure therapy through the jets, which actively downregulates the nervous system and relaxes tight muscles.
It is the ultimate sensory safe space. It's a liquid hug.
Exactly. For a neurodivergent individual who has spent the entire day navigating the chaotic, unpredictable inputs of a new mountain town or managing the stress of being lost on a boat, the pool and the hot tub offer a profound return to equilibrium.
It just resets you.
The physical, tiled boundary of the pool walls provides a distinct sense of containment. You cannot get lost in a pool. The water itself provides uniform, predictable sensory feedback against the skin. It is a highly engineered, totally controlled environment that allows the brain to stop scanning for threats and finally, truly relax.
It is exactly like stepping back inside the bounds of the Galaga screen. You know the rules, the temperature is right, the boundaries are clear, and you are safe.
That's a perfect parallel.
So after surviving the high seas of Lake Granby, finding inner peace in the hot tub, and mastering the arcade, a vacation inevitably turns to its final, unavoidable phase. And that is the desperate, often frantic attempt to take a piece of the vacation home with you.
We're talking about commerce and souvenirs.
Oh, yes.
This part of the diary explores the psychological drive for physical mementos, and it also perfectly captures the humorous realities of interacting with the local economy of a small mountain town.
We see them actively engaging with the town's culture and commerce. On day 2, they attend a jazz festival on Blue Star Memorial Highway at the Rendezvous Event Center in Winter Park.
So they're getting into the local scene.
And then on day 6, they dedicate time to doing some serious shopping. They are checking out all the local spots, stores with great names like the Bowerbird's Den Gathered Goods and Grand Mountain Trading. And it is during this retail expedition that Caleb finds it. The Holy Grail. The ultimate souvenir.
The acquisition of a physical takeaway from a trip is deeply important, psychologically speaking. A souvenir acts as a tangible, physical anchor for the ephemeral memories formed during a transitional period. When the vacation ends, the souvenir remains as proof that the alternate reality existed.
And Caleb finds this incredibly cute husky plushie as a souvenir. And we actually have access to the imagery of this plushie, and let me tell you, it is meticulously designed to be the absolute perfect Colorado keepsake.
Oh, I'd love to hear the description.
It is this incredibly soft, fluffy, gray and white husky dog with these very alert black-tipped ears. It is designed sitting upright, and it is wearing this bright red, actual fabric, hoodie-like real cloth with white drawstrings hanging down that you can actually pull and fiddle with.
That tactile element is key.
Right. The hoodie features this great, bold graphic of jagged mountain peaks with the word Colorado arched majestically over them. But the details on the paws are what really sell it as a premium souvenir. One foot is intricately embroidered with I Heart, featuring a little pink heart, and the other foot has the iconic Colorado Sea Flag logo embroidered right into the plush fur.
If we break down the anatomy of that specific souvenir, particularly through a neurodivergent lens, it is incredibly clear why it holds so much appeal. It is a masterpiece of sensory design.
Really, it's not just a cute stuffed animal.
It is far more than that. A plushie of that quality offers profound, multi-layered tactile comfort. You have the soft, generalized friction of the fur. You have the contrasting, smooth texture of the fabric hoodie.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You have the firm, dense embroidery on the paws, and the kinetic, fidget-friendly element of the drawstrings. It is an object explicitly designed to be touched, held, and manipulated.
Wow, I never thought of it like that.
For a neurodivergent traveler, a highly tactile, comforting, weighted object like a plushie serves as a critical somatic regulating tool once the trip is over. It takes the abstract, massive, sometimes overwhelming aesthetic of the Colorado mountains represented by the husky and the state flag and shrinks it down into a safe, soft, manageable, and controllable format.
It is the absolute anti-spiral staircase. It is soft, it is grounded, it is predictable, and it brings you comfort instead of anxiety.
Beautifully said.
But as with all travel, not all of their interactions with the local town were so successful or comforting. Which brings us to what might be my absolute favorite entry in the entire 7-day diary. I need us to talk about David's letter in Subway when they're about to get lunch.
The subway incident on day 2 is a flawless, almost theatrical illustration of the clash between modern corporate expectations and the unyielding reality of small-town infrastructure.
Okay, I need everyone to picture this scenario. It is 2:45 p.m., it's mid-afternoon. They have been exploring, navigating see-through stairs and locked ballrooms. They are probably a little hungry, and they are looking for a quick, entirely predictable sandwich.
The safe mode we discussed earlier.
Exactly. So they go to Subway. Subway is a massive global franchise. The entire psychological contract of Subway is that it is open, and it smells and tastes exactly the same whether you're in Tokyo, New York, or Granby, Colorado. It is the culinary equivalent of safe mode. So they walk up to the door, fully expecting to smell that specific yeast, but they hit a wall.
A literal locked door.
The door is locked, and taped to the glass is a letter from someone named David, and the letter confidently states, Subway is looking at reopening at the end of June.
The critical comedic detail here is the timeline. Caleb meticulously notes in his diary that today's date is July 18th. It is currently the middle of July.
Exactly. It is mid-July. And David's sign is still proudly taped to the door, vaguely promising a reopening at the end of a month that has completely come and gone. Caleb processes this information, and his deduction is swift, literal, and absolutely hilarious. He just writes in the diary, I think they're just lazy to reopen.
It is a brilliant crystalline moment where the frantic pacing of standard American capitalism collides head-on with mountain time.
Mountain time, yeah.
If you are in a major city, a closed fast food franchise would be gutted, replaced, or restaffed in a matter of days. The corporate machine abhors a vacuum. But in a small mountain town, the passage of time is fluid. A sign promising an opening 3 weeks ago, left yellowing on a locked door, is quintessential small-town reality.
David's Subway sign is exactly like that one friend who texts you, I'm 5 minutes away, just turning the corner, when you know for an absolute verifiable fact that they haven't even gotten out of the shower yet.
Yes, that's it perfectly.
It is the sheer illusion of progress. But honestly, looking back at the timeline, I have to wonder if the Subway closure was actually a massive blessing in disguise.
How so?
Think about the timeline. They try to go to Subway at 2:45 p.m. They are thwarted by David's temporal anomaly. Less than an hour later, at 3:40 p.m., they are eating at Debbie's.
Ah, I see.
If David had actually gotten his act together and reopened in June, maybe Caleb wouldn't have gone to Debbie's. Maybe he never would have experienced the perfect, regulating nostalgia of that 1950s plain cheeseburger and chocolate milkshake.
That is an incredibly valid observation about the nature of travel.
Mm-hmm.
The itinerary is always a fiction. Often, the disruptions to our rigid, predictable routines, like a closed restaurant or a missed turn, are precisely what force us into the spontaneous experiences that end up becoming the most cherished foundational memories of the trip.
It's so true.
The disappointment of the locked subway door actively redirects the journey towards something vastly more authentic and comforting.
Sometimes the universe has to lock the door to the foot-long turkey sub to force you off the beaten path. And that brings us inevitably to the end of the journey, the outro of our trip. We arrive at day 8, July 24th, 2026, the final day in Granby.
The diary entry for this final day is noticeably brief. And psychologically, that is very typical for the end of a vacation.
You're just ready to go home.
Exactly. The cognitive and sensory energy has been entirely spent. The threshold has been crossed back. At 10:47 a.m., the luggage is loaded, the green Jeep is packed back up, and they are hitting the road, reversing the ritual, heading back to their starting point.
They are driving back down the mountain, back home to Colorado Springs, and I just have to say, looking back at this entire 7-day adventure, it has been such an absolute privilege to ride shotgun with Caleb through these pages. It fundamentally forces you to appreciate the hidden neuro-nuance of travel.
It does. It serves as a powerful reminder that the macro events of a vacation, the destination itself, the majestic mountains, the massive lake, are often merely the background radiation. They are just the stage setting for the micro experiences that truly define how we process the trip.
Well, Caleb, if you are out there listening to this, thank you. Thank you for sharing your diary, your perspective, and your humor with us. And to our listener, thank you for joining us on this highly customized deep dive. As Caleb pulls the green Jeep back into his driveway in Colorado Springs and starts unpacking the bags and that perfect husky plushie, we are going to wrap things up on our end.
But before we sign off, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final philosophical thought to mull over.
Oh, please do.
When you look back on your own travels, your own scrapbooks and photo albums, what truly defines the architecture of that trip for you? Is it the grandiose, Instagram-worthy moments, the vast mountains and the expansive freezing lakes? Or if you look closer, is it the micro memories?
I love that.
Is it the grounding, predictable taste of a diner milkshake when you are exhausted? The rhythmic, controlled glow of an arcade screen in a strange hotel? Or perhaps the humor of a perpetually closed subway sign promising a June that never came? Next time you travel, as you navigate that inevitable, exhausting friction between the chaotic new and the comforting familiar, try to notice the architecture of your own memories. What are you actually building your vacation out of?
That is such a fantastic question to carry with us. We will leave you to think on that. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning the world around you, and seriously, watch your step on those see-through stairs. Have a great day.